Hi, Leo. Welcome to a special love reading, if you will. It's called Three of Swords Healing Heartbreak Tarot Reading. I'm sorry I'm speaking in a staccato voice, but I'm trying to remember kind of sort of what the title is because I don't have my computer in front of me. This was from Pinterest, and the person who created it apparently is called Light Ones. I mean, that's their handle on Instagram, so you can follow her over there and see what else she has to offer if you're interested. But thanks to her for creating this. And I've memorized the position, so I'm just going to go ahead. I was starting over again. But one thing I want to say about this is I've been doing these like trying to heal from a relationship that has broken up. But as I have been doing these readings, and when I look at this particular spread, it seems to me that it could be, a real disappointment that you have with your partner, but perhaps there is still room for healing in some way. So you can salvage the relationship. And I'm just saying, possibly, if you see something, I don't know if it's a gnat. I think it's more like a mosquito or something. I was thinking it was a fruit fly. It could be a fruit fly because I have a bag of bananas right by me. But I'm just going to keep it going because I don't think I'm going to be able to stop that from happening from where I'm recording. Okay, so in any case, so I mean, it doesn't have to be a relationship that is gone, but it could be something that is challenged by a disappointing, heartbreaking, situation that occurred. And how do you heal from that? Do you just totally, move on, or is there something you can do? So that's actually the last card. So the first card is what caused the heartbreak. And the Ten of Cups, isn't that a beautiful depiction of the Ten of Cups? This deck is the Light Seers Tarot deck in case you're interested. This is a card of family joy. You can see the card in the back, the children in the background. And it's a card of marriage. It's a card of happily ever after. And the pot at the end of the rainbow, this deck is faithful to the Rider-Waite Pamela Coleman Smith depictions, and so that's one of the reasons why I bought it in the first place. And what I think this means, since it's in the upright position, is that it could simply be that some Leos found themselves in a committed relationship where you might have thought that the romance left the relationship. And it may not have been, and if you're still in this relationship, it may not be that there's anything truly wrong, but just that everything is kind of like evening out. Because you do have the beginning of a lot of relationships where there's this infatuation stage and you feel like you're on cloud nine, but that is not the reality of love for the long term. Yes, of course, people who really care about one another, they're happy to see each other every day. It's not like, you just are indifferent. But some people, and I think Leos can certainly make this mistake because you're very romantic and you're very you want to treat life as this grand drama. But the problem is, I think this is true for all fire signs. I'm a Sagittarius, is that we tend to exaggerate and we tend to believe that life has to show up in this, amazingly sparkly way every single moment of every single day. And if it doesn't, there's something wrong. No, there's not. It's called having everyday moments. And it's called settling into the relationship. Now, I will say that sometimes there is a situation where it just develops into stagnation, We're not talking about that. We're just talking about relationships settling in, becoming, more functional, and, especially as you move in or get married, you're going to have these practical matters since you're living together. You have children sometimes, a lot of times you have children, and you're just doing day-to-day things. You're not always, riding on roller coasters or, floating down a river in a gondola, you're doing normal everyday things. And so perhaps you kind of have unreasonable expectations of relationships, and you are using the relationship to fill you in ways that it can never do so. That can cause you to think that there's something wrong and to project it onto the other person. It can be the other way around, that person felt that way towards you, that they wanted you to be always this person that they were intoxicated by. And, I mentioned the dirty socks on the floor. There are, you have to get to that point where that is part of the relationship. And if that's horrifying to you, that a relationship can ever get to that mundane level, then it could be, when I'm doing private readings, I'm looking at, okay, do they have squares from Venus to Neptune, moon, afflictions from the moon to Neptune, or the moon or Mercury to Neptune, because Neptune can be very idealistic, but it can be very into that fantasy of life that isn't part of life. So it's kind of an interesting thing, because it's not one of those cards, the Ten of Cups, where I'd say, oh, wow, this person cheated on you, blah, blah, blah. It seems like it's more about what expectations you had going into marriage, or the equivalent. I said, and what you expected from it. Maybe your expectations were unreasonable, and now you are, blaming the other person, or the other person's blaming you. And it could simply be that if you vow that you're going to always grow as an individual, and that you're always going to put your relationship first, that you're never going to neglect the relationship, that you can have a wonderful relationship. I do think in these current times that there is too much willingness to just chuck a relationship simply because the other person isn't lighting their fire. And it's not acknowledging that relationships are about much more than that, and that you have to be willing to commit. And that means that it's not going to be all sparkly every moment. And part of that is loyalty. Part of that is just simply, believing that it takes more than that initial stage to cement a relationship. The second card are the unseen things that may have contributed to the relationship not working out. Unseen meaning maybe some sort of denial or unspoken things in a relationship. And the King of Pentacles can be about somebody who has a lot of money, who has success, maybe in a male-female dynamic. If the female is a Leo and is very accomplished and is very successful and very, what would you call it? Generous with the partner, the other person may feel resentful, may feel this sense of inferiority. And so trying to undermine that person's confidence because of their own envy, their own feelings of not measuring up, and resentment over that. And instead of just being happy that they are with somebody who is very generous and accomplished, they try to diminish that other person's light. Those kinds of things can happen when you're dealing with a partner who has low self-esteem. And especially if you came into this relationship with that dynamic where you were in the kind of job or career where you make a lot more money than them to begin with, and it just kept going on, and they either, had some kind of financial setback, or they've never been able to get it together, and maybe you don't even care about that. You're willing to accept them as they are, but they can't accept themselves. And so that might have poisoned the relationship. And neither one has really acknowledged that in an open way. Perhaps because they don't know why they do what they do. They just feel that compelled to try to cut you down to size. But when somebody does that, you have to know that it's likely because they feel not good about themselves. And so the third position is the lesson to be learned here. And this is one of the reasons why I associate it with, breakups, because it's like looking back on the relationship and reflecting on it. Oh, I think that is such a beautiful picture. And this is a card, the Two of Pentacles, which is about kind of juggling your life, two different things. I'm trying to figure out the reason I was kind of confused is if you see her midriff area, it looked to me like a butt, not her stomach. So that was kind of weird to me. Like kind of the back of somebody's jeans and their butt. So this is a card of like, somebody who has maybe two jobs or two different, you have a lot going on. You're working and trying to maintain a household, and Leos are infamous for being workaholics and stuff. So in that situation, it might be that perhaps you were trying to have a happy marriage, but you just weren't there enough. King of Pentacles can mean you have your own business or and a very successful one, but you just might be so caught up in that your private life was neglected. And I remember back when I was younger, they used to say you can have it all, and that's just really a lie. You can't have everything at the same level. Something has to give, and that's okay. Nobody should have to choose between something that they really want to do with in a relationship. But when you're establishing a relationship, or when you are first married, or you have moved in with somebody, if you are automatically going right into your career or just continuing with it, and you haven't really invested in that relationship, it can be very vulnerable. The way things are now are a lot different than they were 50 or 70 years ago, when people had simpler lives, when they didn't have a lot of distractions. And so people went to work, they came home, and they were able to do, they were able to have more balance. Nowadays, there's so much pulling for our attention that it's very easy to get caught up in kind of that madness. And especially for a fire sign that's very out there in the world, the domestic situation can suffer sometimes. So understanding that and trying to create more balance, and not trying to be all things to all people, might work out in future relationships, if you feel that this relationship has pretty much run its course. And the first step to healing is the Four of Wands. And that's funny because this is a card of the happy home. It might be a new home. You might feel that it's best to relocate and have your own space that isn't reminding you of something that, didn't work out, that you wanted to work out. But it might be that you pour more energy into your home life, and that you can, save a relationship that's basically okay, because like I said, those other cards aren't bad at all. So it might be something along those lines. The number 4 is a number of stability, and wands relate to freedom. So they're almost like at cross purposes, or they are contradictory to one another. I feel like this card is really about balancing the need for freedom with the desire to lay down roots. In astrology, the 4th house is the house of home and family. And how do you make yourself want that when you're kind of afraid of, being trapped in that sort of situation? Well, it has to be something that you feel good about. So maybe a relationship that you thought was one way really wasn't that way, and so it kept you from wanting to invest in it. So it has to be, finding a person who shares your love of life. So perhaps a fellow fire sign. This can be a fire sign person. In addition to Leo, the other fire signs are Leo, Aries, and Sagittarius. And that might be the kind of person who gets you the most and can give you that freedom, because they want it as well. I know as a Sagittarian, I have a partner, a long-term partner, who is also a Sagittarian. And I don't think that there are many other signs I could be with. And he and I both get each other, and that's so important. So in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this, Leo. If you would like a personal reading, the link is below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.